Today, I would like to say a few words about my book project titled Climate Leadership in Chinese Cities. Why it is important to look at Chinese cities and also its climate leadership. China is the world's largest carbon emitter, followed by the United States and the European Union. The extent to which China can reduce its carbon emissions will in large determine the future success of global efforts to address climate change. Over 85% of China's carbon emissions come from Chinese cities. Some of the largest metropolitan areas around Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou each hosts over tens of millions population. They became the largest hotspots for greenhouse gas emissions. Therefore, the extent to which China can achieve its climate goals largely depends on those cities whether they can become truly low carbon. Despite being the world's largest carbon emitter, Chinese government has pledged climate goals to reach carbon peak before 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality before 2060. Can China achieve its climate goals? That really depends on local implementation. For a long time, local areas and regions, particularly those governments at city level and township level, have been regarded as the key barriers for inadequate environmental policy implementation. But the national government has introduced a series of policy experimentation to motivate subnational climate engagement, including Low Carbon City Pilot Program, which will be examined together shortly. But before we dive into the specific policy program, let's take a minute to understand the important role of policy experimentation in China. Policy experimentation is a unique policy process in China in which national government delegates substantial leeway to subnational governments at the provincial, municipal, and township levels to encourage them test new policy solutions to address emerging policy challenges. Successful policy experiments in local areas and regions have informed major policy developments at the national level, including land reforms in the 1950s, China's economic opening up in the 1970s, and China's recent development in the electric vehicle sectors. The policy program we will look together is the Low Carbon City Pilot Program. That is the program introduced by the National Development and Reform Commission since 2010. And over the years, there are 81 Chinese cities being selected as low carbon pilots. So being a low carbon pilot is not just assigned by the national government. Local areas and the regions need to apply with a specific action plan, including target setting for decarbonization initiatives across transportation, building, and industrial sectors. And over the years, we have seen that some cities are doing better than others in initiating and implementing those policy initiatives. Just give you a kind of basic information. Out of those 81 Chinese cities, only 4 of them actually introduced the specialized policy like agencies in implementing low carbon policies. Only one of those cities actually introduced a set of evaluation standards to evaluate the outcome performance from low carbon policy experimentation. Yeah, so this is the map which shows the regional distribution of low carbon city pilots. So you can see that almost every province has one or two low carbon city pilots. Then over the years, we see there is a huge regional differences in terms of local policy engagement. Only half of them actually have explicit their carbon peak goals, and very few of them was able to introduce a level of policy institutionalization, which consisting of regulations, standards, and legislations, which are very important to lead to behavior changes and at institutional level and also individual level. So policy experimentation also have been criticized by scholars for lacking of policy institutionalization. So that means sometimes they cannot sustain through the changes in political leadership. So my research question is, why are some Chinese cities doing better than others in initiating and maintaining low carbon city pilot experiments? In order to answer the question, I take a comparative and qualitative approach. So I selected 4 low carbon cities. They were joining the low carbon city pilot program almost at the same time, but have taken different approaches in terms of their engagement. I went to those city areas, talked with policymakers and policy practitioners across different levels of government. Combined with the policy documents assessed through field trip, I was able to reconstruct the policy-making process in those cities and came up with my own explanation. I called it bridging leadership approach. So in contrast to existing research which criticized the lack of policy institutionalization out of low carbon city pilot experiments, my research shows that policy institutionalization does exist, particularly when bridging leadership presents. So in contrast to existing research with a strong emphasis on the role of top leaders, they are usually the mayors and the party secretaries at the city level. My research and my approach emphasize the key role of bridge leaders, who are usually the middle-level bureaucrats and have spent their almost entire career in one locality, which enable them to have the ability to see the opportunities for future new policies and also equip them with the ability to mobilize resources, build coalitions with key actors inside and outside the government. So my research emphasizes the local bureaucrats are a key source for local policy development and implementation. So here I want to show you 2 cases from my research. One is Shenzhen. Shenzhen is a pioneer case in my study. Shenzhen is a city located adjacent to Hong Kong, has a population of 12 million. Shenzhen is a pioneer as a low-carbon city because over the years, it has established a level of policy institutionalization consisting of legislations on green finance, carbon emission trading system, advanced low-carbon standards for green building, and specialized agencies supervising the policy implementation. All this progress actually started with the bridge leadership centered by the middle-level bureaucrats, Tang. So Tang has a PhD in economics and later joined Shenzhen's municipal government and was promoted to the position of vice mayor when he was in charge of the low-carbon city pilot program's implementation. So Tang, as a bridge leader, was able to mobilize the political willingness from the mayor and create implementation alliance with local actors inside and outside of the government. So one of the successful initiatives led by Tang was Shenzhen's emission trading system, which is a policy mechanism created to mobilize energy resources, very intensive entities, particularly in the industrial sector, to reduce their carbon emissions. Shenzhen was actually not included as a pilot on the list of national governments when the national government tried to motivate more of a subnational engagement at the beginning. Having learned about this opportunity, Tang persuaded the mayor to reach out to the national government to express Shenzhen's willingness in acting as a pilot to inform national level policymaking, particularly for the carbon emission market system. After submitted all the application materials, Tang also organized a group of experts and took them to EU to learn EU ETS. After coming back from EU, under Tang's leadership, Shenzhen was able to become the first Chinese city to launch carbon emission system, particularly with the first legislation on carbon emission trading, which actually granted the local government the power to require industrial participation in carbon emission trading in a compulsory way. Therefore, from Shenzhen's case, we see the important role of bridge leaders in mobilize the willingness from the political leaders and also mobilize implementation alliance from key actors, including local legislators, to advance low carbon policy implementation in the city. The another case I want to show you is Xiamen. Xiamen is an environmentally friendly city and a coastal tourist city. I was expecting to learn a lot about Xiamen's low carbon policy progress before I embarked on my trip to the city. But what surprised me is actually Xiamen is not very interested in developing very robust low carbon policy implementation initiatives. And over the years, it has not really introduced institutional measures as Shenzhen did. So how? So Xiamen actually started its low carbon initiative with the support from the Deputy Director Lin from the Xiamen Construction Administration. Lin successfully supported Xiamen's application and made Xiamen as one of the first low carbon city pilot in China. But he was not able to continue the political support from the top leader or mobilize implementation alliance from key actors inside and outside the government, including some of the major initiatives he proposed, such as the Jimei New Town program in Xiamen's low carbon city action plan. So from here, you can see that Lin acted as the bridge leader supporting Xiamen's successful application to become one of the key low carbon city pilots in China. Soon after Xiamen being selected as the pilot, the administrative authority of low carbon city program implementation transferred to Xiamen Development and Reform Commission, in which there is no bureaucrats really care about low carbon initiatives. So after the new mayor took the office with a new strategy called the Beautiful Xiamen Initiative, low carbon city program basically shelved by the government. So we see that with insufficient support from more of the bridging leadership, local areas and the regions, including those environmental friendly cities, can encounter implementation challenges in implementing low carbon initiatives. So in conclusion, my research shows that even in a centralized political system like China, local areas and the regions have demonstrated diversity in engaging in low carbon policy experimentation. In contrast to conventional criticism towards the lacking of policy institutionalization during the experimentation, my research shows that low carbon policy institutionalization occurs when there is a local bridging leadership. Therefore, my research emphasized the importance for the government to keep investing in bridging leadership, particularly the mid-level bureaucrats, in enhancing local low-carbon policy implementation, because those bureaucrats are at the front line of shaping China's climate governance and its effectiveness in delivering its climate goals. Thank you.